Hey folks, my name is Mo Amir and this is VANCOLOUR, British Columbia's bona fide culture and politics TV talk show. Tonight, we have a stacked show. Aaron Ireland will be here to talk about the options to make your Christmas dinner entirely plant-based. Blasphemous, I know. Plus, Karis Hogg and Jeremy Baker from 1027 The Peak will be here to talk about their favorite non-traditional Christmas movies. But before we talk Christmas, let's delve into a big question facing British Columbians. How do we prepare for the increasingly unprecedented when it comes to climate change-related weather events in BC? Our first guest will explain this tall task that she's just been assigned to tackle. She's the twice-elected BC NDP MLA for North Vancouver Lonsdale, and earlier this month, she was announced as BC's first ever Minister of Emergency Management and Climate Readiness. A VANCOLOUR fan favorite, she is Minister Bowinn. Ma Bowinn, so nice to see you.
Good to see you again, Mo.
Happy holidays, Merry Christmas. You have a big new year ahead of you, and I want to talk about this new ministry that was created. We have a Ministry of Public Safety, we have a Ministry of the Environment and Climate Change Strategy, and now we have your new ministry. So where does this fit into those two ministries, and what work are you doing that's going to be unique and that we've never really done before?
Yeah, so the Ministry of Emergency Management and Climate Readiness, which I'll call MCR for the purposes of keeping it really short
rolls
here.
Off the tongue,
MCR, I know. But it used to be known as Emergency Management BC.
Okay.
And Emergency Management BC was a small sliver, or I wouldn't say sliver, it makes it sound so small, but it was a component of the Ministry of Public Safety and Solicitor General. So it was led under Minister Mike Farnworth for a while. But over the last 2, 3, 4, 5 years, what we've seen is the growing importance of an entity like Emergency Management BC in the face of all these extreme weather events due to climate change. And it's gone from a coordinating entity that exists as a part of a ministry into something that is so obviously needed in a much greater capacity. And so Premier David Eby created the Ministry of Emergency Management and Climate Readiness to generate its own ministry for the purposes of focusing on emergency management and being prepared for what lies ahead for British Columbians as a result of climate change.
So effectively climate change adaptation.
So it's a big part of it for sure. There are two components. The way that I think about it is there are two components. There's the emergency management piece. That's the preparing for, the responding to, and the recovery from emergencies like the atmospheric river events of November 2021, like the flooding and the storms and wildfires and droughts and heat waves and all of those sorts of things. And then there's the climate readiness piece, which acknowledges that what we have seen over the last couple of years is very unlikely to be a one-off scenario. We are talking about climate change being here, right here in British Columbia. So
And we've definitely seen that over the last couple of years, for sure.
That's exactly it. And so even as we do the work that we need to do to drive down greenhouse gas emissions, to take action on climate change, we also have to acknowledge that the climate crisis is already upon us, and we need to be ready for what's coming.
So here's the big question then. We talk about these events, whether it's heat dome or atmospheric rivers, as unprecedented events.
Yeah.
So when it comes to your role, how can you be prepared for something that is unprecedented that we've never seen before?
Well, I think that is the big question that we are grappling with, and that's what we're trying to figure out right now. But I'll tell you some of the components of work that we are doing.
Sure.
So for instance, we need to understand what the hazards are and what is likely to come down the pipeline as a result of climate change. So we're doing a province-wide hazard, risk, and vulnerability assessment. So taking a look at the province and understanding what kinds of hazards there are in terms of wildfire intensity, in terms of heat intensity, in terms of the likely kind of storms and atmospheric river impacts that we're likely to see, and overlaying on top of that where our populations are, where our economic centers are, what our key transportation routes are, where our critical infrastructure is, and from there having a better understanding of where we need to adapt and mitigate sooner rather than later.
And you're basically doing this from scratch. It's not like someone has handed over a file, like, here's what I've been doing for decades or whatever, right? Like, it sounds like you're building this from the ground up.
Well, Our government has been tackling these issues since day one, since 2017. This ministry is intended to pull together a lot of the work that we've already been doing and accelerate it, and also make sure that we're aligned and beating to the same drumbeat across all the ministries. So for instance, the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change Strategy has been looking at a strategy for adaptation and mitigation already. And then in the Ministry of Forests, they've been taking a look at a BC flood strategy. And they, of course, have the BC Wildfire Service in there as well. And under Mike Farnworth, Minister Mike Farnworth, they've already been working on modernization on emergency management legislation. But as you can see, a lot of this work crosses multiple ministries. And so having one minister whose job is to pull all these pieces together and make sure that they're accelerated at the pace that we need them to be so that we're ready for what comes.
This sounds like a really tall task. So really quickly, when you were told about your new role, were you kind of like, what is that? Like, were you confused as to what your mandate would be? I know obviously you had a mandate letter afterwards, but was there a bit of blankness in terms of, okay, I don't know where we start?
You know, in the very beginning, I have to admit, I wasn't sure what it meant because it was a brand new ministry. I hadn't heard about it before. But in the last week and a half, as I've been getting my briefings up, as I've been learning more about the work that we have to do, it's also become clear the work we still have to, that's still to come, basically.
Absolutely.
So we've been doing a lot, but there's so much more work to do. And I'm excited to be able to lead this new ministry on behalf of British Columbians.
Bowinn, if there's anyone that can do it, I know it's you. You are fantastic. I know you did a great job on the Coquihalla Highway rebuild as well. So I wish you a very Merry Christmas and all the best for the new year in your new role.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Folks, she is, of course, BC's first ever Minister of Emergency Management and Climate Readiness, tasked to keep us safe from climate change events. She is Minister Bowinn Ma. Now, after some business, let's shift gears to talk about Christmas dinner. Is a delicious plant-based Christmas dinner even possible? Well, if there's one person who knows how to do it, it's Canadian vegan icon Erin Ireland, and she'll be here up next. I'm Mo Amir. This is VANCOLOUR.